Good afternoon, class. This is Andrea. We're going to be going over our voice and diction lectures. This is our first video lecture of week 10. You can follow along in your book on chapter 10, and it starts on page 277. This week, we're going to talk about breathing and breath control. So let's talk a little bit about what breathing means for speech. Breath stream, so breathing is a breath stream, and it's our powerhouse of our voice. So basically it gives us all the support we need to be heard and to produce our sounds appropriately. So if you have an ineffective breath, then it can do things like it will strain your voice. If you don't have enough breath support from your stomach and your diaphragm, then that means that you are using what we call thoracic breathing, and that's whenever you're making your vocal folds work extra hard in order to make the sound loud enough to be audible. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So just a little bonus why this is important for you and why we need to work on breathing, because obviously we all can breathe and we all can talk. So why is it important for us to go over this in our lecture? So if you regularly use your voice to speak to a large group and you don't utilize effective breathing, you are at risk of developing vocal difficulties down the road in the future. So a perfect example for this are teachers. My mom's a teacher, and what I've noticed is she'll have to raise her voice to get attention of the class. So she's a third grade teacher, and they're still at third grade. They're kind of still learning, how to be good students, and so she'll say class, 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 but she has to do it really loud, or maybe she's talking and then there's another student talking over her, so she has to raise her voice to talk louder to be heard. It's also other parts other than just the audience or who you're talking to is loud. It could just be that the room is huge and there's a lot of people in it, so you have to magnify your voice if you don't have a microphone. So all this stuff that she would do as a teacher over and over, day in and day out for years. Like it's not going to be something that like you do it once and it ruins your voice. It will be something where it's the way that you talk for years and years and years that can damage your voice. And so you see a lot of teachers who have vocal difficulties, maybe their voice just sounds really scratchy. They'll notice it themselves, and everyone does. It's not just related to teachers. As you age, you've used your voice longer, so you'll notice like, oh, I used to be a soprano in high school, and now I'm an alto, and or something else. Like for a woman, well, I guess for men and women, your voice naturally lowers in pitch as you grow older, and sometimes the vocal quality can change. So everyone's at risk of that, and but even more so people who regularly speak in either a large environment, like maybe the room's large and you have to speak up, or anything that you would have to speak over or something else. Okay, so when we talk about breathing for speech, what does this mean? And what it means is we have different things, like we breathe to live, okay? And so what happens when I'm just naturally breathing and I'm not talking is I'm breathing in and out at like the same rate. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you, but I also want you to try to do it with me. So we're going to take maybe the next 5 to 10 seconds just of silence and just of breathing. And I want you to just think about the rate at which you breathe in and inhale and exhale. All right, so we'll begin now. Okay, so if you should have noticed, what I noticed and what you should be noticing is that when we just breathe to breathe, to live, and we're not doing anything else, we're breathing in and breathing out at a slower rate, and it's more even. So it's like almost 50-50. Breathe in, and then you breathe out. So when we breathe for speech, it's going to be quite different, because in the English language, you don't breathe in during speaking, because if you did that, it would sound like this, and then I'm breathing out, and then breathe in when talking. Like, it just sounds weird, right? So you don't breathe in when you talk. You just breathe out. It's actually a little embarrassing to do that. It sounded very weird, but that's what it would sound like. And some languages do breathe in when they speak. I learned that in my phonetics class, they taught us that certain African or languages that are from the African continent do that. But those are usually like a click sound. And so it's a lot easier to make a click sound because it doesn't really require your vocal folds. And so breath comes from your vocal folds. I don't think I could make the sound justice, but I can give it a shot. So if I'm going to breathe in while making like maybe a sound with my tongue on the roof of my alveolar ridge, I'll try it. All right, so that sounds just about the same as ooh. You know what? I don't think I can breathe out while making that sound. So it's interesting, but I can breathe in while making that sound. So for English, though, we only breathe on an exhalation when we're breathing out. We never breathe while breathing in, or we never speak while breathing in. And our breath, our breathing in, inhalation, it's a much shorter time span than when you breathe out. So you can try this right now. You can pause the video and say a nursery rhyme and notice what time you inhale. I'll say happy birthday. I'll speak the happy birthday song. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear so-and-so. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so I just demonstrated that our inhalation is actually very short. So there we go. What can happen with poor breath support? So if you have an inadequate breath supply, you can run out of breath. So let's say that I was reading something, and quite a few people did this, and you might do this during the assessment. My mind's racing a little fast. So I might have written this on somebody or a few people's assessment. Is maybe we missed like a comma, like a grammatical cue to have a breath. And so what that ends up with is I'm running out of breath and I can't talk, so I'm keeping going, and then I have to take another breath where it's not natural in what you were trying to say. So, and that's normal. Like, I know I've done that definitely. I think right then was probably a time where it was a little inappropriate to take a breath, but I didn't really plan what I wanted to say exactly to the T, so that I knew didn't plan where I was going to take a breath. And that's appropriate in some instances, in many instances actually. So just something for you to be knowledgeable about and to think about. And I probably wouldn't do that. Like, I probably would be more concerned about where I'm taking my breaths if I was giving a speech in front of like donors or maybe all of my advisors. So anyways, just something to be taking a thought about. So you might run out of breath. your breath might, or your voice might be strained or breathy. And so it might, like, this kind of is strained. This is more relaxed, and this is strained. And then I'm trying to see if I can mimic a breathy sound. It would just sound very breathy. Some people just have a lower breath supply, and so the air escapes more. So that's what leads to a breathy sound. And then also it could just have a lower intensity level, so that's a lower volume. And how can you give a good breath support? How can you make sure that what you're doing is providing good breath support? So this the book gave a really great example that you provide good breath support just similarly as a bike pump. So what you use are your abdominal muscles and your diaphragm. This is very important. And so I want you to go ahead and put your hands on your abdominal muscles. And just as like this man is pushing on, it looks like this is his lever, and he pulls it up and pushes it down, and the air goes in through. You're going to use your abdominal muscles to push in, and so the harder you push, the more force will travel through your vocal tract, and it makes a louder volume. So there's actually two ways to provide good breath support. This is one of the ones. This is the one that's going to produce the least amount of damage on your vocal folds. So this is the one we would recommend that you would do. Typically, people who have vocal problems, it's because of poor breath support. And things like not drinking enough water, or drinking things that are like diuretics. So something that, a diuretic is something that would dehydrate you. So like coffee, I love coffee, but coffee is a diuretic, so you have to be careful. You have to make sure you drink plenty of water. Sugar is not good for your vocal folds, so soda, drink in moderation, and make sure if you do drink some things that you're not really supposed to have for your vocal folds and your voice, make sure you drink plenty of water. Some other like really good tips that you'll hear, that you'll definitely hear, are try to avoid foods or beverages that are like on extremes of temperature. So if it's like really hot or really cold, it's really, if you are a journalist or if you are someone who really needs to use your voice for your occupation, then these are just some things to be aware of, because these are like shocks to your vocal folds, because if you think what you're eating and what you're drinking goes and passes through the vocal folds, like they open. And so they're like ligaments, but just as like our muscles, if you went into like a cold ice bath, you'd like freeze up and you'd get really rigid. And if you're in a hot bath, like your muscles get really relaxed. And so just to be very careful of those extremes. So there you go. Little extra tidbit of information for y'all. Okay, so we just spoke about, or I just spoke about, an abdominal breather is kind of what it's called. So when you use your abdominal muscles to really push out the air, okay, we prefer that. We prefer that to thoracic breathing. So let's pause for a second, and I want you to breathe in, and then whenever you, I really don't care what you say. So you could say the happy birthday or Mary had a little lamb, but whatever you say, use your abdominal muscles to really support that, and see how you can control your loudness level versus not being very concerned about your abdominal muscles. So I'm going to say ye. That's me saying ye without using my abdominal muscles, and now I'm going to use them, and we'll see the difference. Ye, 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 ye. Okay, so there is a little bit of a difference. I hope you heard that loudness and pitch. So a thoracic breather is someone who's not really using their abdominal muscles. Now, everyone's a thoracic breather, especially whenever you're just speaking between two people, so you and another person, because you don't have to project. But what this becomes a problem is whenever you have to project and then you start using the muscles around your neck. So what happens is people use the muscles around their vocal folds because to open and close them, you have to have something called glottal pressure. So that's just the space in the air between your vocal folds, right? So if you want to make yourself louder just using your vocal folds, you're going to have to create even more pressure using your neck around your vocal folds. And what it creates is it makes your vocal folds have to they open and close, right? So they have to open, they slam open and they slam closed. So that's what makes the volume louder, not necessarily a greater amount of airstream being produced by your lungs and using your diaphragm and abdomen. It's more of just around your throat. So this is how you would put more strain on your vocal folds, and it makes them slam together. Excuse me. Everyone uses a mix of these breathing techniques, just like I said, especially if you're talking one-on-one. But just be very mindful that if you are speaking to a crowd or you're speaking to a large group of people, or even if you're in a restaurant, I know there's a lot of background noise, and the person sitting across the table, maybe there's a bunch of other people who are talking. You might be putting your voice into undue stress by using thoracic breathing. So it might be beneficial if you use abdominal breathing. Okay, so we are nearly done here. I just wanted to go over a minute to talk about your homework. So what you're going to do, let's see, on page 278, there is a really cool table, and it's called Table 10.1 Voice Improvement Exercises. And there's these dark boxes under breath control. And there's 8 boxes, so there's 8 different exercises it's going to walk you through on how to work to make sure that you have a good and strong breath control. So there's 4 on abdominal breathing, how to work on it, loudness and duration, that kind of stuff, and have a good force. And then there's 4 breath control exercises that are more related to relaxing your vocal folds. And this is also important so that just as you would stretch out your muscles after a walk or before a walk, this will really help relax your vocal folds so that they're not always in any stress, or in constant stress. So what I want you to do is you're going to pick 2 exercises for breath control. One is going to be from the top section. Those are from pages 280 to 284. And then 1 exercise from the bottom section of relaxation, and that's from page 291 to 292. So you're going to pick 2 exercises. You're going to record yourself doing these exercises. And so this won't just be a video record or an audio recording. I want you to make sure that you have a video of yourself doing it as well. You can't post the download, or you can't upload the video of yourself to D2L because the file will just be too big. And you also can't email it. So what I want you to do is you can upload it to YouTube, and you can select it when you upload it to be visible to just the people that you post a link to. So the only people who have that link can see it. And I want you to take that link and post it to D2L in a discussion board. So on that discussion post, you're going to have some reflection questions to answer. And I want you to post that link so that we all can see it. We have these reflection questions I want you to answer, and you can find all the information that you'll need here, and there'll be some stuff that you need to work on in the book. And make sure that you have that uploaded to D2L, the link for YouTube, and the reflection questions uploaded to D2L by it's Sunday at 11:59. So let me open up that date real quick. It's going to be that Sunday for week 10. So that will be, let's see, what date is that? March 29. 3/29 is you're going to need to have it uploaded to D2L by 11:59. So if you have any questions, feel free to either email myself or Dr. Davis will be available to help you out. So, and if you don't have your book, I got an email. I think everyone got this email from like Dr. McPhee, and it shows, I think there's Barnes & Noble is offering to do a free online book for the remaining of the semester for those who have not, I guess, gotten their books or have their books but can't access them. So just look into that. And everyone, I hope you all stay safe and have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.